Welcome back to Core Motivations Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Connolly. I'm a certified Enneagram coach and a Symbis marriage coach. Perhaps this is your first time joining us. So happy you found us. And for those returning, again, I am very excited that you have committed to growth through this podcast. It's another month of 2026. I really feel like things are moving so fast. Whew. Holy cow, it's April. Well, the month of April is a big one for me. For one, it's my birthday month. April also has some major holidays like Passover and Easter. It includes April Fool's Day, which is known for pranks and mischief. Oh, and if anyone has a good one that they want to share that's not too embarrassing, please do so on Core Motivations _coach Instagram page. I love this. Those that are born in April, it's known to be the month that has the highest number of CEOs. Just saying. April is also Awareness Month. Some of the things that fall into this awareness month is Autism Acceptance, Stress Awareness, Earth Month, and National Volunteer Month. People that I respect and admire, who I believe represents autism in such a powerful way, is Eva Erickson, who we met on Survivor. If you don't know who she is, check out Survivor Season 48. Specifically episode 5. And you can check out show notes for her Instagram so you could see a little bit more about her. And if you've never seen Survivor, for shame, you need to get on that train. Yes, it's one of my favorite shows. So recap. Survivor. During this episode, we see her doing a challenge where it was a high energy, very tense situation. She begins to break down, but still manages to make it through the challenge. Now, I don't know if I could have handled that kind of pressure. Anyways, at the end of the challenge, where her tribe team celebrates her and that accomplishment, she just can't calm down. So Jeff Probst invites Joe Hunter, who was another contestant, also from her previous tribe, to help her navigate this breakdown and get this reset that she needed. Amazing what happens here. And I have to tell you, I cry every single time I see this replay. So after she composes herself through the support of Joe, she opens up and talks about autism and her experience having to navigate life, including the ways it can challenge her, and yet how she has defied the odds and flipped everything upside down and rewrote the script on how a person with autism can live just as successful a life as anyone. So maybe as we are in the month of April, we can each find ways to participate in this month of awareness. Now, again, I love how Eva expresses her experiences. So truly, check out her story. It's pretty incredible. This is my invitation and encouragement to all of us to find ways to be more informed and inclusive. So throughout this month, there are many ways in which you can participate in all things awareness autism. For starters, there's a global event, which is a virtual 31-mile challenge. And there are initiatives to foster acceptance and inclusion right here in Arizona. The Autism Society of Southern Arizona, they host an event called All In for Autism Dino Day and Walk. And there are others that are scheduled nationwide. I will post these in the show notes. So what's next? How about a recap of the last time we were together, where we talked about centers of intelligence, which is connecting the ways in which each Enneagram type use their heart, gut, and head centers towards breathwork. And additionally, we continued our discussion on our journey of new self-care for 2026. We talked about low pressure mornings, soft goals, and utilizing digital boundaries. I'm just curious, which one are you trying and how is it working so far? I really like soft goals in particular, as it takes away the pressure of I have to, or even the pressure of I need to. It allows for me personally to breathe slowly and take my time. Anywho, I would love to hear from you. What are your new go tos? Now, just a heads up, as we move into our topic for today, it has a lot of twists and turns. So, that being said, this might be a topic that needs to be stretched over a couple of episodes. So, we'll see how far we get today. Well, let's get into it. We're going to talk about something called lines and arrows in the Enneagram. So, first, a quick reminder of some foundational parts of the Enneagram. Now, previously, we had talked about our core motivations: core fear, core desire, core weakness, and core longing. As well, we talked about wings, which are the numbers on either side of our main type. Wings are our seasonings or added flavors. It's our level up and empowerment for the core motivations of our main type. So, paths and arrows are just like it sounds. It's directional. It helps us in our growth journey. These paths, they're known as stress path, blind spot, growth, and converging path. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you what each of those mean, and then we're going to connect it to Enneagram types. Okay, so Enneagram lines and arrows, it indicates how each type changes under stress and growth, representing dynamic movement rather than static traits. So, static traits, as in core temperament, like someone who is an introvert or an extrovert. Another example is someone who has a fixed belief system that remains constant throughout their life, regardless of experiences. I think that part is pretty amazing. Although maybe it's one of those things that it's a curse and a blessing. I don't know. You can see these sorts of things in character stories. For example, Sherlock Holmes, who has exceptional deductive skills, an emotional detachment style, and intellectual arrogance. So here's a couple other examples. The unwavering loyalty, which we see in Samwise Gamgee in The Lord of the Rings, who stays consistently loyal to Frodo throughout the entire journey. Then there's the perpetual vanity that we see from Captain Hook in Peter Pan, where he maintains his vain, theatrical, evil nature throughout his whole pursuit of Peter Pan. And then one of my favorite examples is Monk, the character Adrian Monk. He has OCD and many phobias: symmetry, cleanliness, order, alongside hundreds of fears, including germs, heights, and milk, just to name a few, which both hinder his daily life and fuel his intense attention to detail as a private detective. Now, side note, it is supposed to be a comedy surrounded around some tragedies. I know that might sound awful to some, but the show was a great success and we love it. I guess that should be past tense. We loved it. The way they portray him is funny and sad, but I also like how it represents things that real people struggle with. Tony Shalhoub. Gosh, Tony, I'm sorry that I messed up the pronunciation of your name, but he plays Monk and is truly amazing. If you know, you know. Okay, so back to arrows and lines. They follow this pattern where each type connects to two other types. Okay, so we took that detour to talk about static traits. giving an example of things that people do or behaviors or characters or personalities, how they stay the same when they're focused on a specific thing. So arrows and lines, they follow this pattern where each type connects to two other types, just like our wings do. So one arrow points towards the stress or the disintegration point, and the other points towards the growth or the integration point, helping individuals to stretch beyond their core type. Are you with me so far? I will probably say this often, but each type might struggle under pressure, but it also is where they naturally grow when thriving. Now, there are many points of view in all things that we learn, not just in life, but here on core motivations. So, that being said, paths, what do they mean? Okay, so there's 4 paths moving from stress path to converging, our internal GPS. In other words, our internal map, which informs us if we are on the right path of growth or if we're headed in the wrong direction. And the lines are what lead each type to the growth or struggle. So let's go a little deeper to help with understanding each path. Okay, stress path. This is what we are like when we are under stress. So, another way to look at stress path is the way you think, feel, and behave when under stress. So, when each type is under stress, they tend to take on some of the average to unhealthy characteristics of the connecting type, which points to these patterns that serve as a warning sign that you are veering off course. So, this is what's called your rumble strip. The rumble strip, like on a freeway, makes noise and it shakes the car, letting you know you are getting too close to the shoulder of the road. Hence, veering off the path and get back where you need to go, right? So, the rumble strip, in regards to Enneagram, it alerts us that it's time to wake up, ask God for help, or seek help and redirect to a healthier path for your Enneagram type. Essentially, it's a neutral pause rather than a judgment. Individuals can identify their core weakness without guilt, and in turn, it enables better choices. So the second path is what's known as the blind spot. It's how we might behave around our family or our closest friends. So when a person is around those most comfortable with, family members, and of course our friends, they may display this misaligned characteristic of their blind spot. In general, it refers to a state where an individual's dominant personality traits are excessively overexpressed, leading to a disconnection from reality, like kind of being on autopilot, where you're completely unaware of how your behaviors are impacting yourself and others, which in turn can be in conflict with your true intentions. And you may be unaware, generally unconscious, that you are using this as a technique to perhaps protect or help yourself. The third is called growth path. This is where things start to shift and get good. Growth path is the forward movement along specific lines of integration, adopting the healthy, positive traits of another type to overcome defaults and even ego driven mechanisms. Now, keep in mind that this journey fosters self awareness, allowing individuals like you and I to move from reactive behaviors towards consciously chosen, balanced, and productive actions, which enhance our personal growth and breaking default habits. Now, I just want to add from a Christian perspective, the growth path is what you would experience when the Holy Spirit enables you to begin to transform and grow, meaning the Holy Spirit is acting as the agent of regeneration. This tool, it calls out the false self through identifying your core motivations, specifically fears and brokenness, by creating space for healing and wholeness. Growth achieved by healthier traits of the growth line acting as a counterbalance to the core type's rigid tendencies. Still with me? This is a lot. And we're just getting started. So finally, we come around to the bend where we make our way to the converging path. So after we begin to grow, we can transcend to this level. So after making progress towards your growth path, you can reach the most aligned point, which is where three healthy types come together. So your core type, and then the healthy type of one arrow, and the healthy type of the other. So for example, Enneagram type 1 would go to the healthy type 4 or the healthy type 7. That's where they're all coming together and converging. It's where you access the best qualities of your main type and their growth paths. This is considered the most difficult path to take, but also the most rewarding and freeing. There's a couple things that I want to debunk here. Arrows, they don't change your core motivation, only the outward behavior. Stress arrows are not inherently bad. They are opportunities for better management. And then the third thing that I want to debunk is that growth arrows can also show stagnation if you become too comfortable in that spot. Okay, let's go even deeper. Let's spend some time and do a breakdown of how the Enneagram paths work in our lives for each type. And we're going to start with Enneagram 1. Before we look at the paths, I want to remind us of our core motivations. Keep this in mind as we discuss lines and arrows and paths that lead to growth. And remember, core motivations are the why we do or act the way we do. That being said, core motivations for type 1, their core fear is being wrong, bad, evil, inappropriate, or unredeemable. Their core desire is having integrity, being good, balanced, accurate, and virtuous. Their core weakness is resentment. So they have this repressing anger that leads to continual frustration and even dissatisfaction. But their core longing is to hear you are good. Okay, here are the paths. Stress path. Ones move towards average to unhealthy type 4, meaning it is the way you think, feel, and behave when under stress. So what does that look like for a 1? Well, they can feel resentful and angry that others are not fulfilling expectations that type 1s have. 1s will withdraw when they feel moody or misunderstood so that they can work out their emotions alone and move towards average to unhealthy type 7. You see, 1s experience stress-induced disintegration, meaning there is a breaking down of something into small particles, shifting from control, principled behavior to becoming moody and irrational and self-indulgent, meaning they withdraw, feeling overwhelmed by their inner critic and falling into a deep criticism, depression, and resentment. So the next step in this is blind spot. It's where 1s move toward an average to unhealthy type 7. It's the way they behave around those whom they feel most secure, usually friends and family. So the demand that others meet your needs and desires, that they become more self-focused and greedy, as well as they will become sillier and more childish. Now, this is one's moving to the average or unhealthy of a 7. Some questions to help understand this is when around those you are secure with, mainly your family, do you become more playful, spontaneous, and fun? And when you are growing, do you find that you become less critical and more self accepting? And then finally, do you find that your critic's volume turns down slightly so you can enjoy life more freely? Now, these are characteristics of a type 7. And what about growth path? This is where things start to change. This is what healthy growth in you looks like. So ones, they move toward average to healthy side of type 7. So they will experience compassion and joy, creating a more self accepting heart, becoming more enthusiastic, spontaneous, positive, and optimistic, which truly are those foundational characteristics of a type 7. Let's talk about the last one, the converging path. This is when a 1 moves towards an average to healthy side of a type 4. So you listen to and trust your unconscious impulses while tapping into your inspirations, passions, and creativity. And this happens through your spontaneous emotional expressions of yourself in a more full way. However, when you are at your converging or healthy, you are able to let go of the unrealistic expectations and standards that you hold for you and others. And in turn, it makes it possible for you to live out of your superpower where you are about making the world a better place. Want to keep going? Oh, good. I thought you would say that. Let's look at type 2. Let's start with their core motivations. Their core fear is being rejected, unwanted, thought of as worthless, and even needy. However, their core desire is being appreciated, loved, and wanted. Keeping that in mind, their core weakness is pride, as in denying their own need and emotions. Now, pride, as in it fuels their need to be seen and wanted. Also, with the understanding that a 2 knows what someone else needs way better than anyone else. So that's where the pride comes in. And finally, their core longing, what they want to hear is you are wanted and loved. So with that in mind, let's, just as we did for type 1, look at the 4 paths and lines. So their stress path, again, is the way you think, feel, and behave under stress. So 2s move towards average to unhealthy type 8. So what you would notice is them being irritable if they feel they are being ignored or feeling rejected, as if the love they share is not received as support. They can become aggressive, controlling, and even demanding towards others. Their go-to in stress path is to threaten to withdraw help and care and support, which is perceived as manipulative, followed by blaming others for the problem. Now, remember, that was the unhealthy part of 8. Now, their blind spot, and remember, blind spot is the way you behave around those whom you feel most secure. And what happens to a 2 is they are oversharing everything, feelings, uh, darker ambitions, their needs, and even cravings. They express disappointment specifically in others, and they're more moody, temperamental, and self focused, and they're more self indulgent. However, When they get to the growth path, they own unhealthy motives by asking for forgiveness. So they accept painful feelings that deal with anger, sadness, and loneliness. They, at that point, then believe that they are wanted and loved apart from what they can do for others. Now, this is where the converging path or the transformation takes place. So as twos move towards healthy 8, they are expressing emotions with balance, not being passive aggressive or manipulative. They're not focusing on what others think about them. And in turn, they become more independent and self assured through validating themselves. They move out of the give to get, where they're seeing their own needs as relevant and necessary, and in turn make their service to others genuine. It is moving from pride to humility. Now, consider these questions to determine the benefits of moving towards a type 8 in health. Describe a time when you were under stress and became irritable, aggressive, or dominating. Can you think of examples of this? Lean in a little more. Did it look like blaming or controlling to get your needs met? Now, moving towards type 4 in health, these are some questions. How do you share more honestly your thoughts, feelings, and darker side? And again, this is with your family and friends. Do you find that you can be more moody with your family? How do you indulge yourself with goodies and special treatment? When you are growing toward healthy side 4, have you noticed how you show up for yourself? More compassion, perhaps? What are some self-care things that you've started doing? How does it feel to care for yourself in this way? Now, all that I just unpacked was for a type 2. I think we'll stop here for today. Next time, adding more of hats, arrows, and lines of other Enneagram types. I hope that you found some good things in this. And hey, I would love for you to reach out on Instagram and let me know one thing that resonated with you during our time together. I also want to tell you about some very important calendar events. First, my birthday. Also, on April 10th is Siblings Day. April 11th is Submarine Day and Barbershop Quartet Day. Don't forget that April 12th is Grilled Cheese Day. Love this one. International Moment of Laughter Day. It's on the 14th. Jelly Bean Day, April 22nd. Pretzel Day is on April 29th, and ending the month out with Honesty Day. Be careful with that one, okay? That's on April 30th. And, of course, the number one most important day in April is my birthday. And now, our favorite podcast moment together is the legal stuff. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. This podcast is not a substitute for medical care. The materials, movies, videos, or books referred to in this podcast are recommendations only. The views expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the podcast host. That's me or sponsors. Join me each week as we dive into all things Enneagram, self-care ideas, self-love patterns and rhythms, share ideas from other reputable authors, doctors, and my favorite podcasters. A big thank you to you for being here with me today on Core Motivations Podcast. We're counting on you to help spread the word about this little corner of core motivations. So hit the follow button, share this episode with someone, and please leave a review. In fact, a 5-star helps us reach so many more people. You can find me, Michelle, on Instagram at coremotivations_coach or through email, michelle@coremotivationscoach.com. So, let me leave you with this. Until next time, and as always, I'm rooting for you.